Hello and welcome to HCICast, a videocast series covering the road to the 2021 Healthcare Internet Conference. This will be our 25th year, which is hard even for me to believe, and I've been at all 25 of the conferences. I'm Kathy Divis, president of Greystone.Net, and I'm thrilled to be here with my co-host, Megan Finkelman, vice president and client service leader for Merge.
Thanks, Kathy. I am delighted to be here. Joining us today is David Avrin, president of the Customer Experience Advantage. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Looking forward to the conversation and looking forward to our time together in Las Vegas in November.
Well, I'd like to start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about yourself and your role as the president of the Customer Experience Advantage.
You know, I have spent my career as sort of the catalyst for conversation for many years in marketing and branding, and in recent years more towards customer experience, patient experience, user experience, and others as well. I sort of came to the recognition after many years on the platform presenting and consulting and writing books that what we say about ourselves, while important, is far less impactful today than what other people say about us. And so now all of my work is about the work that we do as providers, as business owners and entrepreneurs and others to help other people see us the way we want to be seen. And today it's being seen as remarkably easy to do business with.
David, I know we're all looking forward to the first in-person HCIC event since 2019. So tell us, what are you looking forward to most as you prepare to be on the main stage at this year's conference live in Las Vegas?
You know, I think we're all looking forward to being together in person. You know, it has been such a challenging year for all of us with kids who had remote learning and everything else. But there's something about the serendipity of the unexpected conversations that happen in the hallways between sessions. It's getting our feet under the same table. It's seeing and touching and feeling the products in the exhibit halls and others as well. But it's the conversation. We need to be in the room together. And so I'm excited. I'm back on the road again and working with organizations. But there's something so much more powerful that can happen when we all get inside the room and the sharing and the learning and those great conversations. So I think it's gonna be a great one this year.
Well, your presentation topic is incredibly relevant to healthcare providers right now, as we've seen an evolution unfold in customer behaviors and expectations, particularly over the past 18 months. What do you think that healthcare can learn from other industries and sectors when it comes to customer experience?
You know, I think in many ways, COVID has accelerated what has long been prognosticated about how we're going to do business. In many ways, we've taken 10 years worth of technological development and advancement and crammed them into 1 year. But what's interesting about that is there's sort of an interesting dichotomy. It's not a COVID world. It really is a post-COVID world, at least certainly in the United States and others. Things are beginning to open up, but it's different everywhere. But the real question is, what did we learn during this time? And what we've learned is an interesting dichotomy. On one hand, there's this whole new generation of conveniences, of how quickly we can get information and access information online and otherwise. And it has helped us to be able to, as I said, access information, get products and services. We can get anything we want, anytime we want, sometimes same day. But at the same time, there's this growing expectation in terms of accommodation. So on one hand, we have automation, and we're able to sort of predict that patient path, that customer path, and be able to automate certain things and be able to access things by our phone and otherwise. But at the same time, there's this expectation of flexibility and accommodation. And there's no industry more than healthcare where you really understand that every situation is unique or potentially unique and different. But when we try to predict that patient path, when we try to predict that behavior, oftentimes what we do is extract the opportunity for personalization. So I think there's a real challenge right now in healthcare. I think we have some great new innovations, but at the same time, there's a growing expectation that we're able to bypass those innovations and have individual conversations. telehealth, which has been happening for a long time, sort of from the provider to provider perspective, has grown exponentially from the patient to the provider as we take control of our own healthcare. So being able to access information, not having to wait for an appointment in person, being able to do it is a phenomenal convenience. But at the same time, we're feeling a real push and a pressure to do things the way the organizations want us to. Does that make sense? As we try to create and predict that patient path, I called my healthcare provider, who will remain nameless, and it took me 4 minutes and 23 seconds before I was able to choose to talk to a real person. 4 minutes and 23 seconds of recordings about COVID. And then while I was on hold, I had 16 messages that came to me trying to push me to use their app, trying to push me to the website. We talk a lot about we want to give patients choices. We want to give our customers and our clients choices. But is it really a choice when we're pushing them to do business the way we want them to, so we have some measure of predictability? So there's a lot to talk about. There are some wonderful innovations, wonderful convenience and automation, but at the same time, the expectations to be able to bypass that are growing as well. So we've got a real challenge on our hands as we navigate what patients are looking for in the new post-COVID world.
David, you've talked a lot about how this is changing healthcare, but I'm curious of how it's really changing how we engage with customers, and also what's the mindset that forward-thinking organizations have right now, those that are doing it the best?
Well, there's a difference between those who are doing it the best and those who are doing it the way they think they're supposed to. And I think the way that they think they're supposed to is this trend towards automation and being able to do it ourselves, right? We look at the millennials and say, well, everybody wants to do things on the app. They want to do it. What people really want is choices. And it doesn't matter if they're baby boomers or millennials or others as well. So I think those who are doing it right are giving patients an off-ramp to be able to opt out of the automation, which are phenomenal new conveniences and able to do things from home and otherwise, but to be able to speak to a real person with their unique situations. I think there's a lot of people who have questions that are not frequently asked questions, that don't fit into an FAQ, that have a situation that requires some unique conversation. If we were selling widgets, it's a lot easier to predict those behaviors and the research and the buying and the delivery, and we can budget for that, right? That patient journey, that customer journey. Patients are very different and the situations are very unique. That's why we say we're practicing medicine. And so I think the organizations that are doing it well have this omni-channel approach that provide for some great conveniences, but also give those patients that option, an easier option, a quicker option, to be able to talk to a provider about their unique situation.
Well, David, you can't obviously share your entire talk with us here today, but can you give our listeners a little flavor or preview of what they can expect to take away from your presentation?
My presentation is really about understanding the changing patients. We are very clear as service providers of what COVID has meant to us, what we needed to do in terms of distancing and sanitization and PPP and everything else. I want to talk about what this time has meant for your patients, for your prospective patients. How have we changed? What are our new expectations moving forward in terms of access and expediency and flexibility? We love to talk about our quality and our commitment and our caring and our trust, and we think those are our differentiators. And the data is very clearly showing today what customers and clients and patients really prioritize today is speed and access and flexibility and convenience. Today, convenient is better than better. Today, faster is more preferable than claims of superior quality. I think quality is assumed. So what I want to talk about is how we have changed and what we need to do as organizations to recognize the changing expectations of your patients.
Thanks, David. We're really looking forward to having you as a keynote speaker. Anything else you want to share with us today before we wrap up?
What I'm really looking forward to is, I think, what everybody's looking forward to, which is the chance to connect in person, not just on a personal level. We love the hugs, we love reconnecting, but there's an energy that happens in person. There is an exchange of information that is far more effective in person. And that's why these kinds of conferences are so important. I think in many cases we've missed a year and some of that connection. So this is a conference that people need to attend, not only for the information they're going to glean, but what they would miss and their competitors would gain if they weren't in the room. So it's important that we're all in the room and have some of those challenging and difficult conversations. And I'm looking forward to being a catalyst for some of those conversations as well.
Wonderful. David, thank you again so much for joining us on this episode of HCICast. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
And I add my thanks also, David. We're so looking forward to learning more about your presentation and learning more from your presentation entitled Your Patients Are Changing, Are You? How to Future-Proof Your Business and Win the Patient Experience Battle. That'll be on Wednesday, November 3rd. For more information about HCIC or David's keynote session, please visit HCIC.net.